Morning, everyone. No one's going to say good morning back to me. Thank you all so much for coming. We are thrilled that you are here, and we are thrilled for our guests. My name is Cindy Dunleavy. I'm a coordinator at Library Media Services. Jonathan may show up later. Jonathan Hunt, our county schools librarian, his wife is about ready to have their second child. So we're not sure if today's the day, but he did text this morning and say he's going to take at least the morning off. I think everyone knows Oscar. Thanks to Oscar, this is happening. So he's our coordinator of special events. That's his new title I just gave him. So I am able to make a quick advertisement for some of the services that we offer at Library Media Services that you're probably aware of. One is our digital content portal. It works nicely with these California State Databases. It is a subscription service. We have the information on the costs and the services, the resources that are on there. If you're interested, take a flyer and let us know. We do have connections to the California State Databases both inside and outside of the portal. So if you need World Book, Brain Pop, California Streaming, we have it all in a single sign-on online library. I also just want to mention the IMRA class. We have a couple of cohorts starting up. On October 2nd, we have IMRA 1. So it's a one-day face-to-face and 8 weeks online. A new module opens each week. I have a lot of IMRA graduates in here. Every module has content to read and watch, and then a discussion question and an activity that you can use in your library. And I think the funnest thing is that you get to network with other library staff, not only through San Diego, but through the state, really. We have a cohort coming up. We have people from Sonoma that are going to join us in San Diego, so it's pretty fun and helpful. And we also have our IMRA 2 course if you're an IMRA 1 graduate. And that IMRA 1 starts October 2nd. We have a few spots left if you're interested. And then IMRA 2, we have quite a few spots left, starts October 24th. There's 5 modules, and it's over 10 weeks. Any questions on any of that? Yes? You got to catch it.
Okay. And I'm supposed to do what? Okay. Okay, that works. Yes, isn't that great? Catch, Deb. If you're an OTBS member with the union, they will reimburse you for the cost of IMRA as an educational expense.
What is OT?
Office and Technical Business Services.
San Diego Unified?
San Diego Unified.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost is $200.
Yeah, but they will reimburse you for that. Yeah, OTBS is part of CSEA.
I get to talk into it. We have a huge thanks to the person that made this all happen. Mary Beth Barber is here from Sacramento. She works at the... You're going to really clap because she brought us breakfast, not brought it, but bought us breakfast and lunch. Mary Beth is Special Projects or K-12 Coordinator at the California State Library. So we're thrilled that she's here. If you want to come on up, Mary Beth. Take it from here.
Good morning, everybody from San Diego and everybody who is joining us by webinar. Quick reminder to everybody in the room that we will have this recorded and available afterwards, as well as folks who are logging in from their locations. So when we ask questions, definitely use the cube that has the microphone in it, which would be a lot of fun, and welcome. So I'm Mary Beth Barber. I work at the California State Library with a lot of different hats, but one of them, when Greg Lucas, the state librarian, had this on his plate was make this happen, which is a huge undertaking. Being able to provide this kind of online content throughout the state, we are really, really proud of. Last year, as you know, was the first year, and some successes. We have a report that will be coming out talking about the successes. So there were 7.4 million sessions logged on to these 3 different online content resources last year by students and staff, representing 33 million actions, which is really good, and that is in part due to the hard work from folks like yourself. We also wanted to make sure that, technical access was provided, and right now, at least in terms of the information that we have, theoretically, 86% of the school, public school children in the state should be able to get access. But goals for this year are going to be to sign up every single district and charter school to make sure that the students can get access, as well as the staff, as well as making sure we outreach to charters. So if you all, because charters are kind of spread out, they're not centrally located sometimes. If you have connections to charters or from a charter, please help spread the word about this so we can get technical sign up for Britannica and Teaching Books and ProQuest and the various resources from ProQuest. And then finally, the reason why we're here, which is professional development for professionals like you. It's interesting. I was talking to an educator and one somebody who does PR, and he's like, "Give me your top 5 list of why this is so important." And so I came up with one, and I would love for you all to take notes during the day and come up with your own as well, because I want to start publishing those to get the word out. But the first one is that schools need diverse materials, as you know, and that's what these huge libraries online can provide. That the content that are in these resources, when we ran the RFP, it was reviewed by librarians and by educators, which is a very big deal, especially in the world of open source. We know where the information's coming from. Kids can explore. They can, remember the days where you used to pick up the encyclopedia and just read entries? This is kind of the digital equivalent of that, plus a whole lot more. I think this, which is really important in today's world, is that student data is protected. Every single one of the online content providers has signed off on the state law and the student data privacy rules, and that is reassuring to all educators, as well as parents like myself. And then, as you all know, media literacy matters, especially in this day and age, and that's what this project is all about. I don't want to take up any more time. I would like to introduce, we have a great group of trainers here with Deb from Teaching Books, Jen from Britannica, and then Lindsay from ProQuest in the afternoon. And is anybody having questions before I turn it over? In that case, let's get started with Deb from Teaching Books. Thank you.
Drink some coffee. Drink some coffee. Great. While I'm miking up, if you haven't done this already, turn to your neighbor and introduce yourself, and tell them one thing you hope to learn by being here. And if you're listening at home or wherever you are, think about one thing you would like to learn as a result of participating today. Ooh, that sounded terrible. You are so good. So I hope you will make friends with people that you don't know today. Those of you that are live and in person, share success stories. Those of you that are listening out in the world or will listen in the future out in the world, please do as Mary Beth said, share your success stories, share your strategies so that we can all make this project a success. So those of you that are here, you already see, you've been looking at this screen for a bit, you already have access to this. And so we made a little slide deck. And so if you're the person who is responsible for making sure everybody else at your district or your school knows about these resources, this is our gift to you also. So if you just write down bit.ly/CA gift, all capitals, capital C, capital A, capital G, capital I, capital F, and T, you will have access to this short little what it is and why you care. It also has hot links in it, and so the hot links will allow you to get to the setup form if your district or your school hasn't set up yet, and that lets us have the IPs so that when students or teachers or whoever is using the database at school, they get into the right pot. But you'll see this $3 million project, and so that's what you get to go home with. I'm giving you we got a $3 million project today. Da-da-da-da. You're welcome. And so you are actually, though, paying for it because it was Prop 98. But you'll see through this all the reasons that Mary Beth talked about, how long this project is, and one of the hardest things or the worst things is to learn something new and think that it's going to be taken away next year. So this is a 5-year project. We're in year 2. And so I put slides in here for all the different resources. And you see your ProQuest products and a little bit about most of them, the LibGuide, teaching books, and a little bit about that. So if you are the person who could go and share, then you have this tool that you're welcome to use. And there's our contact information as well. So that's that. So we're going to start with teaching books, and I'm going to try to pay attention to the clock. So in my first session, I have until 10 o'clock-ish to talk to you about teaching books. And if you haven't seen teaching books lately, you have not seen teaching books. I've even got a text one day from one of you actually in this room saying, what happened? It does not look the same. It does not. And it's also an easy way for me to tell if you've been using it lately. Because if you say you're good, you probably haven't looked. But you're going to be so happy that you're here and that you're looking at it. And I'm so proud and delighted to give you this and to share with you what teaching books is and why you care. And so in my time, we are going to talk about what it is and why you care. We're going to talk about all the new features and how you find things and then how you might use them and the support that is there for you. And as I was flying out here a week ago, I was watching on the airplane, The Sun is Also a Star. Where are our high school people in the room? Just a couple. So that's a YA book. You might also have it in your middle school about a girl who is about to be deported, and she meets a boy who is on his way to a college interview, and he immediately is smitten with her, and he talks her into letting her have the day with him, and she says, I'll give you 1 hour to make you fall in love with me. And he is so sure he's got this, right? And so I feel like my job is the same way. I have 1 hour to make you fall in love with teaching books. But honestly, I don't think I'll need more than 5 minutes. And so hold on to your hats because you are just going to love this, I think. So as the folks that in the room were coming in this morning, I asked you to write down the title, because if I were just to say, Marta, give me the title of a book, Marta would go, because that's just how our brain works. So I beat you to the punch, right? And so I asked some of you to give me some titles. And so one of the titles someone wrote down on their card was The Hate You Give. So what I'm going to do first is show you what it is and tell you a little bit about it. And then I'll give you time to play in the sandbox. And then I'll show you a little bit more, and then we'll play in the sandbox. So you can see that right away, The Hate You Give has shown up. And so this is what a new book page looks like. We have the cover of the book. We have 50 total resources for this title in particular. It's won 16 awards. There is a Meet the Author recording, and that's one of the things that's special about teaching books is every day we talk to authors and illustrators, and we get them to tell us, why'd you write that book? Because that's one of the first things kids want to know when they have an author in the room. And so here's a little bit of The Hate You Give.
Hi, this is Angie Thomas, and I'm the author of The Hate You Give. I'm going to tell you a bit about how I came to write the book, and then I'll share an excerpt with you. I got the idea to write The Hate You Give when I was a senior in college. I was a lot like my main character, Star, living in two very different worlds. My mostly black poor neighborhood and my mostly white upper-class private school.
So you see already, here we have the audio, we hear the author's voice, we can see what she's saying, so it's great for kids who are English as a second language, or kids who are reading below grade level, or kids who have hearing difficulties, so it's great for support of all that. But you can also support their own language, so you can go at the top. And maybe now you have kids who, their natural language is Arabic. So now I can read it in Arabic, but still hear the author's voice.
My struggle of being two different people in two different worlds became extremely hard when a young man named Oscar Grant lost his life in Oakland, California.
So I'm going to change that back because I do not read Arabic. And so you can see that it tracks it. If I wanted just to jump to the part where she reads aloud, I can just jump there.
Do whatever they tell you to do, he said.
So there are lots of ways that you can use this Meet the Author recording. It's a great way to hook them. It's a great way to wrap up the book, to get them started, to be the book talks. Then you have, in this case, an audio excerpt. You have the audio name pronunciation, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. You can see we recommend this for grades 7 and up. It's realistic fiction, and the cultural area is African American. But then here I have all my resources. I have 18 interviews. I have 9 lesson plans. So I can click here, and now I've got this discussion guide from the publisher. So if I want to use this in my lit circles, or if I want to use this in my reading groups, or if I want to use this as a classroom read or a school-wide novel, everything I need is all right there. There's vocabulary. Back when I was district librarian in San Diego, and I first got here, that summer, I weeded the Central Media Center. And one of the things I weeded were 200 really sad-looking copies of Henry Huggins and the Paper Route. There was no cover. Most of them had the spine gone. I opened them up. I had an asthma attack. They were awful. And so without talking to anybody, I just threw them out. Gone. Come fall, teacher comes to the circ desk. 4th grade teacher. Where's my Henry Huggins? And I said, I have no idea. I'm new here. But tell me why you use that book. Because in my head, I'm thinking, they don't even have paper routes anymore. Who can connect to that story? But I said, but you never want to dumb down anybody's choice of a book, right? So I said, so tell me why you use that. And he said, well, I have the lesson plans, I have my vocabulary, everything I need, you know, because who's got time to make all that stuff up? And I said, oh, you're going to be so glad you talked to me. What would you like to do? And he said, well, I do love Kate DiCamillo. And I said, oh, well, let me show you. And so I went into teaching books, and I pulled up Kate DiCamillo, and I said, of course, there are more things now than there were then, but for Kate DiCamillo herself, there are 178 resources in teaching books, 27 books. So I said, let's choose a book. And so we choose, for example, Because of Winn-Dixie. And so now I see 36 resources for Because of Winn-Dixie. There are 11 interviews, 17 lesson plans, there's vocabulary, there's a book reading, there's a website. And he went, wow. So this is the part where you clap, right? Because you have this and it's free. You can teach whatever you want to teach because somebody is already doing the curating. Somebody is already creating these ready-to-use resources to help you support literacy in the work that you're already doing. And in our time, we'll not only talk about how to use it with the things that you're already doing, but we're also going to talk about how to use it as a collection development tool, how to use it as a reader's advisory tool. And so that's just the tippy bit of what teaching books is. And so we gather from reputable resources and curate those resources for you, working with different publishers and different companies. We also make our own. For example, one of the things that we do is we go into an author illustrator's home. Not everybody can go to Kate's house. But in these Meet the Author movies, you can.
I was a kid who lived to read. It was the primary pleasure of my existence, still one of the primary pleasures of my existence. It's where I draw my sustenance. And as a kid, it was where I drew my sustenance. I love words. I love the way they sound. And when I write, and that's, you know, when I'm in the penultimate or the ultimate draft, it's all done out loud. You know, that's the only...
So the light should come on right about this point and you go, oh, That's why her books are such great read alouds, because she's already gone through the hard part of the clunky words. And so we can see her at her desk writing, and what a great inspiration for kids. And you'll notice that it also is translated, so you see captions, and the captions can also be read and translated into all those different languages. So back to Kate. So that way now the teacher can choose whatever he wants to do. So you can choose whatever you want to share with your readers. You don't have to teach the same book till even you don't like it anymore, right? And so we can also look for classics. We can go to Kill a Mockingbird. And just recently in the spring, I was at a high school and I walked into a room and she was doing Of Mice and Men. And so I went right back to the library and I sent her the link to that. So here we have To Kill a Mockingbird, we have an audio excerpt, and we have readings and book trailers and all those things to help you market and encourage the books. Maybe there's a subject area that you are going to use. Maybe you're going to teach civil rights. So I can do a search in that same top box and I find civil rights. But look what happens now. Now I have on the left-hand side, I have 331 books, I have 7 lists, and 214 subjects. So I can drill down into what I want to teach about civil rights. Or I can start with the books. So let's just start with the books. So I start with the books, and now I have 331 books, and now I can drill down into my grade level. Maybe I'm working with middle school. So I'm going to choose grades 4 to 8 for civil rights. And then I can decide, oh, I want a particular genre. I'm looking really for nonfiction. So I pull it down to nonfiction, and then I want to go even further and I want to choose my resource type. I want to choose the ones that have lesson plans. So now I have 45 books on civil rights with lesson plans that are nonfiction to share with my readers. Da-da. I know, and that's just the tippy bit. So now I want you to play along a little bit, because really it's so easy. You hardly need me to tell you where stuff is. And so the fastest way to get it, no matter where you are, is you can actually go to teachingbooks.net/California. And when you do that, you will see a screen that welcomes you to California. Or, like Cindy said, if you are part of the San Diego County Office consortium, is that the right word? Digital content provider, you can go to their portal and get it. But some of you, like those of you at San Diego Unified, there is a Teaching Books link right on the district homepage. So you could go to destiny.sandy.net and click on Teaching Books, and boom, you would be there. So those of you playing at home, you may not know where it is, but here it is. This is what the teachingbooks.net/California page looks like. And then you would just click sign on to get started. So that's what we're going to do. So click sign in to get started if you haven't done so already, and you'll see it says educator, and you're going to put in your work email. And this will put you in the right district, charter school, and in our case, private schools, because private schools also have teaching books. Public libraries also have teaching books. Colleges, universities also have teaching books. So all you guys have it. So you just put in your work email and then click sign in. Don't click for trial. And then if you've already created an account, it'll ask you for your password. You put your password in, and then you'll see your name at the top. If you haven't done this before, it will force you to create your own educator login. And the reason why you want your educator login is, suppose this is a book that you want to share with the people in your building. So all eyes up on here. Look at the screen. You see this little red arrow? It says share this page. So because I have an educator login, I can send this to the teacher down the hall. I can send it to her an email and have a built-in link. I can create a QR flyer and put it with the stack of books that I have 30 copies of. And so here's the cover of the book. Here's a QR code. I can scan this QR code. Let's just even try that from your seat. So if you have an iPhone or you have a tablet of some sort, and you open up your camera, I can just open my camera app, and I can scan that code, and it opens up a page in Teaching Books, and ta-da, now is Port Chicago, and I don't have to be logged in or anything. So that's the beauty of it. One of the worst things is to share, here, you can have this, but you have to jump through 10 hoops to get to it. And so now you don't have to do that. Now you can share it right when you want it.
So students have access from the QR codes, so they can get on.
Students can have access from the QR code. Anybody can have access through the QR code. You can give it to
Parents or
the
whoever.
parents, to your school board members, to the lady you heard talking at the restaurant right beside you. In fact, before you leave today, I'm going to give you some access cards. I carry these in my purse, and so when I hear some educator talking at dinner or wherever I am, you can recognize that talk, right? And so I hear them talking, and I say, how'd you like $3 million of resources? I don't know if you know you have it, but here's your card to help you tell everybody you meet. And so I give them one of these cards, which has the access for teaching books on it. So that's the beauty of the share feature, is that you don't have to know anything, and you have direct access. And so having that educator login will let you do that. And that's just to share that access. There are also bookmarks. So you can make a bunch of bookmarks and stick them in the book. You can put it in your calendar. How many times do you're planning ahead for what I want to do, and you think, oh man, I meant to use such and such. So now you can put it in your calendar. You can upload it into your Google Classroom. So your kids aren't wandering around the wilderness. You just want them to hear the Meet the Author reading, or you just want to remember to run off the activity sheets. All of that is right there, and you can have that if you have an educator login. Kids do have access to teaching books. They don't have a login because we don't track student information, but they're probably not going to want to share, and they can build a temporary list. But I've talked enough. I think a lot of you probably have time to have logged in. If you're at the county office, you see on the wall and on the boards, Oscar, thank you, Oscar, has written down the Wi-Fi and how you get in. Anybody having trouble getting logged in? All right, so at this point, whether you're live in person or you're watching from home, I want you to try to log into Teaching Books, because I want you to then, once you've logged in and you see your name in the upper left-hand corner, I want you to search. What is something like what you gave me on that little card? What is the title you might share? What is a subject you might look for? And then try looking at your narrowing tools and see what kind of cool things you can find. And once you've got the hang of that, then we'll learn some more. So if you're listening to this on a tape, this might be a place for you to pause and do what I'm asking those of you who are participating live. And then, so I'm going to take my mic off unless someone comes up with a question that might apply to everybody else. So the question is, we can share an individual title or an individual resource so that we just give them whatever it is we want. If we just want them to hear the Meet the Author recording, or we just want them to hear the audio name recording, or you can share either the whole page or the one thing. Just look for the red arrow. So if you've been in this before, and some of you have had Teaching Books for a long, long time, and maybe it's been a while since you were in there and you can't remember what your password is. Underneath it says forgot your password. You can click on that and they'll send you a reset if you can't remember what your password is. If you get really hung up, you can always Please email info@teachingbooks.net and somebody will reset you. And again, anybody can create a login except for the students. We don't do one for students, but parents, teachers, administrators, school board. You want them to know you have this. There's nothing worse than the administration, the top level people, and we sent, I promise, we sent emails to the superintendents and district coordinators, but some of them still don't know. It happened during a time when everybody was busy, and so you may be the one that says, surprise, guess what we have? But you don't want them to look like they don't know what they're doing. So help them.
What's the question?
The question is, can I use? They don't have to use teachingbooks.net/California, but that automatically puts you in the right pot. But you might go through Destiny, because it could already be set up. You might go through your district portal.
Right.
You might go through a county portal. We made /California just to make it easy in case you don't have one. Because that's the eccentric thing about this whole project. We're the last state to get these resources. I mean, for the state to fund resources at this level, and many other states have a one central location. So everybody knows go to InfoHio. Everybody knows to go to BadgerLink in Wisconsin. Everybody knows to go to TextQuest in Texas. We don't have that. So that's why you may go to more than one place in California.
Right, it's all about the local control thing. This is the first time California has gone, hey, maybe it's like, we're so big, maybe we can get a lot of resources for a reasonable amount by looking at it statewide versus local control. And it is a new concept for the state of California. In terms of, Deb talked about it being a 5-year project. While everybody's checking technically to see if they can get in and pointing things out, 2 things. Hello at Teaching Books. If for some reason a domain has changed at your school or anything else, you can email hello at Teaching Books and say, hey, I think something is going on, and their technical support will help out. And then the other thing is this is Prop 98 money ongoing. So we are looking at this in 5-year cycles, but the potential for a statewide purchase of online content subscriptions for K-12 is an ongoing project. Yes. So don't think this is going away. This is not one-time funding at all. Okay? So I want to make that clear. Yay. Do we have more questions technically?
Melissa? Yes.
Workshops. Are we in year 2 of 5?
Yes, we're in year 2 of the first 5.
Right, exactly.
My personal hope is when we get to year 5, we look at it and we say, ooh, we should add this company and this company and this company, because the numbers are through the roof.
I don't see this getting smaller. Hey, reminder for everybody in the room, especially because there are folks who are watching by webinar who are going to want to know what you're asking and the answers to it. So we have the magic cube that I can throw at you.
And if you're the presenter, you want to always repeat on top of that.
Yeah. Do we have more questions?
All right, so everybody's in? Or getting on it, working on it. All right, so raise your hand if you found something so cool and you want to talk about it.
No, okay, yeah.
Anybody? Marta? So Marta found Discovering Classics. What? Oh, you search classics and you got 349, and now you can drill down to.
Well, I did a filter of grade level.
She did a filter of grade level. So now she's exploring the classics, those that are identified as classics. And so her keyword search in the big box was classics. Over here. Ella?
What I found, what I liked was right away I started sending
hang on a then I won't have to repeat all that.
As soon as you finish discussing the share button, I thought of teachers who are reading certain novels right now, and I found the titles and I sent it to them right now. So I've already done 3 teachers. So
Yay! Who else has already shared something? I want you to share something. I want you to use the share tool before we finish my hour to make you fall in love. So either, put it on your calendar, look at a flyer, share to somebody, see what I'm learning, and send it to somebody. Do that in the next 30 minutes so that you feel, I want you to go with a pile of tools in your toolbox. Somebody else, what did you search? What did you find? Hi, Irene. How are you? Oh, come on up. Yes, question. Oh, wait, Oscar?
Sorry.
I just wanted you to show me where you switch to.
Oh, okay, so
Because I know we have.
Kathleen's question is, how do I switch to the language? So actually, you can switch to the language on any page. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner at the top of any page, there is select language. And then if I change it to Basque, and then there'll always be also at the top, you just click Go Show Original, and it'll be back. So you can see already in the search box that you can search by title, you can search by author, you can search by keyword. But wait, there's more. Raise your hand in this room. You can raise your hand and I can't see you, actually. If you're a librarian, if you work in the library, raise your hand. Okay. Do you know this sound? Hang on. That is the sound of a barcode scanner. And this is a book. And this is an ISBN. And so when I take the barcode scanner and I beat the ISBN, boom, I get the book. Ta-da! I know that is, when they showed me that, the office in Berkeley called me on a Google Hangout and did exactly what I just did. This is a scanner, this is a book, watch what happens. And so I cried. I literally did. I was so proud and so pleased, and I thought this is going to save so much time. So all I have to do in my search box is click my mouse, take my scanner, beep, and it will pull the book up. Boom. So here we have For Black Girls Like Me, brand new book, just came out. But wait, there's more. Because you see in the right-hand corner, there is an ISBN scan symbol. So the new platform is, it doesn't care what device you're on. So if I'm on my phone, or I'm on a Chromebook, or a MacBook that has a camera, I can touch the ISBN symbol, allow my camera comes up, I go beep, and it pulls the book up on my phone. So whether it's a Chromebook or an iPad, you can send an icon to your desktop, and so all you have to do is click on that, open up Teaching Books, open up the camera, and boom, you can scan whatever it is. So it takes me longer to read a book now because I have my phone with me, and I'm sitting on my porch when I'm at home, and I think, how do you say her name? And so I scan the book, and I listen to the author's name, and I look and see if there's a vocabulary list yet, or if there's a Meet the Author reading, or all those kind of things. And so at the minute I'm reading the book, I get those resources just because of the ease of the new platform. See, I did not need a whole hour, did I? Ta-da! You love teaching books. I know, right? But of course, there's more. So the next thing I want to show you, anybody have a question about search? Search in this box? Sabrina? Her question is, if I do a search and it doesn't show up, can I request a book? And yes, you can. So on your website, whether you're on a website or wherever, you'll see help. And under help, there is contact us. So you can contact us for technical concerns or questions, resources we should include, or titles we should include. And so you just click the titles, type what it is, put your name and email address, and then send it in. But just know that titles are added every day. On the home page, it will show you, if I scroll all the way through the home page, it will show you at the very bottom that in the last 30 days, for example, over 1,300 resources were added. And so I can even click right there and see the 573 books that are 2019 that are already there. Now, so we've talked about searching.
1 second, one more question.
One more question.
Oh, no, I am actually going to use this the way it's supposed to be. You have coffee right there. I'm not going to hit
Yeah, I'm worried about the coffee. All right, question from Lauren. Go.
All right. So I was interested in that book you told me about for Black girls like me. So I was looking, how do I add this to a list? And I saw on the 3 lines, there's reading list, but how do you create that reading list so we can have that today for great books you tell us
That's a very good question. So that's the second reason why you want an educator login, because there are lists already made for you. So for example, if I search Caldecott, I see, make my screen a little smaller. I can see awards and distinctions. So there is a Caldecott list of all the Caldecotts already in here. But if I want that list for myself, I need my own educator login. And so if it's a list that's already in there, then what I'm going to do is duplicate that list. And so I would just click duplicate the list. And so now I can change the title, I can change the description, and I can save the list. So whether it's a list of California Young Reader Medal or whatever, I can copy that list, or somebody shares a list to you. You can duplicate that list, and then you can change the list however you want to. Now here's another cool thing. So do you see this new box that says quick add by book title? So in this box, say I made this list now, but I already know what's going to win the Caldecott in 2020. And so I'm just going to go ahead and nip that thing in the bud and put in what I think is going to win, which now I'm having to think, what would I put? What happens from the, is that what it's called? Maybe that's not what it's called. Where the heart, that's not it. Well, I can't remember the right title. This is called Thinking on the Spot. This is why I had you write these cards. All right, I'm just going to put circle because we love Mac anyway. So I can search right here, and then I can just say add, click, and I just click anywhere in that box, and it's going to add the book to the list. And so you see the green check. So now I'm adding to the list that I started with, which is great. Isn't that great? But do you see this? Do you know what that means? That means you can use your camera again and have a stack of books and beep, 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 and you make a list. So whether you use a device and you're in your book room and you flip all the books over and you can scan a list by ISBN, or you can use your barcode scanner just like you could in the main search box and say you're a teacher and you've done this whole unit of all these books, and you want to remember these are the books I used for my unit on Civil War next year, or my unit on kindness. And then you just beep, 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 and you scan that list. So you just, if you use your barcode scanner, you just beep it and press enter. If you use your phone or other device and you beep it, it'll just add it right into your list. And then you just always want to be sure that you, save your list. And then you have your list. Now, you can also start from up here. So suppose, let's do this major search. Let's do kindness. So I do a search for kindness, and I want to look at all the books, and I want to look at them for K-2. So I want K-2, and I want a cultural area this time. Oh, that's really going to narrow them down. So you see how it's going to really narrow them down? So now I would have too few if I did this. So somewhere along the line I have to change my parameters. So now I change it to 1 to 5 because I was really shooting for first grade anyway. And then I could choose an award. I can say give me any book that has won an award. Or I could say show me the ones that are Junior Library Guild. And if it is one of those, it will show up. So 5 of these books are Junior Library Guild, etc. Or I could choose the kind of resource. I could say, show me the ones that have audio files or video files, or show me the ones that are text, and then I can choose my resource type. But once I have chosen the ones that I want to keep, like the ones, say I do the ones that have lesson plans, now on my right-hand side you see it says add multiple titles. So now, Lauren, like your question was, I can add multiple titles. So I click that, I can say select all titles, and then add, and now I have a new list. I can either create a new list, kindness for grade 1, or I can add it to any other list I already have. I have a lot of lists. And there it is. And at that point, I can edit it or I can view it. And if I edit it, I can change the title or anything in it. And if I'm viewing it, now I have this new cool thing called notes. So I can say perfect for read aloud. Or I can say audiobook, etc. I can give myself notes about, oh, remember this book is about that. And then once I've done that, then guess what? Just like everything else, I can share this list. Welcome. I know, right? So many cool things. So you can make a list of your own. You can copy somebody else's list. You can delete stuff off the list that you already have. You can download it into a spreadsheet and give it to your book vendor. So we talked about how we could use this for collection development. So if you know you have a gap in a particular kind of subject area or grade level or something like that, then you can do a search, create a list, and then off you go for your shopping. Or if, for example, you know about each kindness, but you want something that's like it but not quite, on the bottom of each book page, when you scroll down, there's a new carousel. If you like that, you might like this. But there are lots of reasons why we like a book. It could be we like a book because it won an award. It could be we like a book because it's realistic fiction. We could like it because it falls under the Black Lives Matter. So when I change that, then now I have a different selection in my carousel. Or I can say view all of the Black Lives Matter reads. And so I have 17 books with 266 resources. This is awe. This is what awe sounds like. Silence. All right? So that is a little bit about searching and a little bit about list. But wait. There's more. Because sometimes we don't know what we want, right? When you go shopping and the clerk says to you, is there anything I can help you find? And what do you say? No, thanks, I'm just looking. But you know that when you see it, sometimes you have no idea what you're looking for. But you know when I find it, I will see it. right? And so we have this new feature called Browse. If you're on a device, it'll be over here on the left-hand side. If you're on a computer, it'll be up at the top. So I'm going to click on Browse. So watch what happens when I do this. So now I have all these different ways I can browse. I can browse by awards or series or collections. So what is that? So I'm going to click collections, and so that's what this is. So we've taken all these books and put them in little buckets. So if you just want Reader's Theater scripts, that's awe again. I just click Reader's Theater scripts, and now there's 385 Reader's Theater scripts that I can use with my kids. Or I can narrow it down and say I want to do it with my high school kids. So now I have 47 books that have Reader's Theater scripts for middle and high school. And at this point, I can create a list. I can say add all these to a reading list, or I can just share the whole page, which shares the search, to somebody down the hall. So the lesson plans, that's another good question. The question is, where do I find the lesson plans? So I can actually start in Browse. And I can start in Collections. And then on the right-hand side, under Resource Type, you'll see Book Guides and Lesson Plans. So I could literally start from which books have lesson plans. And then I click on that, and then I'm going to want to use my filters because I have 23,000 books in the collection that have lesson plans or reading guides. And so then I would use my filters on the left-hand side to get an appropriate grade level and a curricular area, say like STEAM. I want books that have something to do with STEAM for 4th through 8th grade. And so now I have 350 titles that have lesson plans that are connected to STEAM. Or any other subject. And if you ever narrow it down too much, you can always exit out and it will put your numbers back up, and then you can change what you search for. Other questions? Melissa? Yes? She wants to go back to sharing with educators?
There's an author coming to our school in December with a book that the sixth graders are reading over the next few months, and I tried to send the author's resources to those educators, and only 3 of the 5 received it. So is there a total number, a maximum number you can send at one time?
Nope. So what did you do, for example? You just...
I put in all of their emails, and then I clicked send, and it said that it couldn't send to the following emails, and it listed 2. So only 3 out of the 5 received it. So
normally it would be you could send to up to 5, I think it is. Well, let's just do one and show the world what that looks like. So if I want to do The Giver, and I want to send it to the teacher down the hall, or a bunch of teachers down the hall, and I click on the share, and I click email. Now it fills in my name, my email. Didn't used to do that, which is so great. And then I put my email in. I always check to have a copy sent to me.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I just send the original email to myself, and then I send it from my email. And the reason I do that is sometimes when you type under pressure, you mess it up. And sometimes the district, there'll be a wall or a filter that say, oh, you're trying to spam people. And so your district will stop it from going to a bunch of people. But within your district, once you get in there, you just forward your email to everybody else. And so here's what I usually say. You are so welcome. And then you check you're not a robot, and then it will go into your email. The great news about once you've done that is it will, it also puts the login information on the bottom of the page. So if you happen to send it to somebody who doesn't know they have it, suddenly they go, oh, well, they have access to what you sent, but they will probably want more. And so if they get it at home, this will let them get to more. You're welcome. So Browse, again, is a place where you can help define what you're looking for, either by looking for collections or starting with a grade level and working down from there, or subject when a cultural area or an audio or resource format, or even if with diverse books. Now, a lot of people know about teaching books because they know about, question. Rena?
Yeah, is that an interest level for grade level, or is it a reading level?
It is an interest level. That's a very good question. So let's do one of these books that are up here, and I'll just show you. We'll do Tangerine. Someone put down. So here's Tangerine. And then here we have the grade level. It's an interest level. That's why it's a wide grade band. And then a cultural area, it's under disability. But see where it says show more details? When I click there, now I find out the year a book was published, the word count, the Lexile, the ATOS, the quiz number. So all that stuff is there, but it's collapsed, so you don't have to scroll so much to get to the resources. And then you have all these other tags. So maybe this book is closed, but it's not quite what you're looking for. Then I can show fewer. And the reason it doesn't have the number of pages, instead it has word count, is because it depends on what version you're using as to the number of pages. So we decided this is a good compromise for how long is this book. Okay? Other questions?
Hold on. Come in with the box.
I'm so glad Mary Beth is here to run the box. For those of you that aren't here, we have this amazing little padded microphone with a plus on it, and you literally could throw it, but people have coffee, so we are running. So I'm delighted that Mary Beth is here to run it around, and you just talk into it, and everybody can hear the question. So.
Great. I apologize if this was already asked, but when you share a resource with like the teacher down the hall, do they have to create a login in order to access the materials?
They do not.
Okay.
The beauty of the share tool is that they don't have to know anything. You can send this to your niece in Florida because she loves this author, and she doesn't have to know a thing about it. That's the beauty of it, because we want this to be as seamless as possible in your work, so that once they get it, and it's just like I said, once you see it, you know why you want it and how it can help you. So that tool helps you do that. Question?
Will they need to create a login in order to explore more on the teaching book site?
That is a very good question. They will not necessarily need to log in to explore more. It depends on how they went into the resource. The only time they'll have to have a login is when they're not in an access portal, like they're in Texas, and they just type teaching books, or because they can listen to everything, they can see everything, but they can't share without a login, and they can't create a list without a login. But other than that, if they're in a California portal of some sort, they won't need to have a login.
So that's
it will make them
IP
want to have
authenticated. So if you're on campus and technical support has already provided the state of California, the state library with through teaching books with the information for your school, then you'll be fine. If you are exploring from home and prepping, then as a California educator, you're going to need credentials from remote access. We'll deal a little bit with the technical stuff right around the lunchtime and take your questions regarding that.
Perfect.
So can you upload your own resources to this site? Things
What kind of resources?
created, like things that you have created yourself, or is this right? Like if you have a book talk that you've recorded a video, or is this teaching books is controlling all the resources?
Teaching books controls most of the resources. So the short answer is no. The longer answer is our next thing to learn. So let's do a little bit of that, and then we're going to take a tiny stretch break. So the next button over is Instruct. And in Instruct, there are things for you to create and personalize your own self. So we're going to go right to those. But in general, no, you can't upload a book talk. You can't upload lesson plans that you wrote. But you can take the resources from teaching books and put them in your Google folder or in your Google Classroom or wherever you want to, because once you have a link, you can embed it in anything. You can, if you do a newsletter at school, you can put a link to a resource in your newsletter, and then whoever gets it doesn't have to know anything. They click on the link, and they have direct access to whatever it is. I don't know why this is taking so long. We're all going. Let me go back and try again. Okay, there we go. All right, so under Instruct, what we've done is we've corralled a lot of things that you might use to save you time. So, for example, literacy connections. So if you want to teach author's purpose, if you click that, you get to lots of resources to help you with author purpose. Diverse books. So here is another way, instead of going through collections, to get to diverse books. And you can look at all the books that are Latinx or the ones that have won the Puro Beaupre. And then you can also navigate on the left-hand side. So maybe you're trying to show everybody at your campus that teaching books is not just for the English language arts people. It's for anybody that uses books, anybody that is supporting literacy. So I like to use the math one as an example. So I click on the math, and now I have national standards from the National Council of Math Teachers, and here's my standard. Here's how teaching books would support that standard, and here's a link to, in this case, an author movie about Matthew Stewart talking about his Math Start series, or this biography of the boy who loved math, and so I can listen to her meet the author recording and so on. Or then I can go down to the bottom and say, see all math titles. And then I use my filter tools to get just the books that I want. But say, for example, I chose From the Mixed-Up Files of Mrs. Basil Lee Frankweiler. And this is a book I'm using in my lit circle, or it's a book that the whole class or the grade level is doing. It's a core lit title or whatever. I can go to book guides and lesson plans, and now you see this box with a red circle around it. That is a customizable story map. So when I click there, I can make up my own lesson. There are 4 levels, and they increase in difficulty. And so all I have to do is click on create the lesson, whatever I want to call it. I'm going to call it Runaways. I'm going to type, where would you go if you ran away? How would you survive? And then the lesson will automatically give you a beginning, middle, and end box for the kids to write. And then I can put in 2 questions. I can put name 3 things the siblings needed to pack. And then write, how did they solve the mystery? So this could be my exit ticket. This could be my wrap up for the whole thing. I save it, and then once I've saved it, I can view it. And so here's what that looks like. And kids can type on it. So you're in a lab, or you have your one-to-one at your school. They can type their answers, the beginning, their middle, and the end. They can type the answers to the questions that they have. It can be downloaded. It can be printed. It can be saved. This is the part where you say wow or something.
So we've got a question back over here.
Back over.
Real quick break, because for our folks at home, they're not able to utilize the chat, which is where questions would come. So
okay.
So if anybody that's online that is wanting to ask questions, they can email me, Oscar at sdcoe.net, and I can relay those to you.
Perfect. Oscar at sdcoe.net. So let's take a 5-minute break.
We can either do that, or let's take this one last question. Who had a question over here?
How do students get access to this? Is it just open access, or is it from our Google lessons?
So once you create a customized lesson, you decide where it goes. So once I've made my lesson, you see it says download to distribute, so I can download it. I can share it, just like all the other resources. I can put it in a Google Doc. I can put it in my calendar. I can email it. I can make a flyer. All those same share tools work for the lesson plans too. But wait, there's more. But I'll tell you in about 5 minutes. So I've got, it looks like 25 after-ish from here. There's, in this room, there's coffee, tea, and wonderful fruit and pastry. So help yourself. The restrooms are through the back doors, down the hall to the right. So take a short break, and those of you listening at home, this is a good time for you also to stretch. And when we come back, we will learn some more.
And a reminder of the email, it is,
Oscar@sdcoe.net.
and that would stand for San Diego County Office of Education, in case you need that kind of way to remember what the initials mean. We'll be right back.
It's just going to take me a second. No. What's your question? That's a good question. I may ask you to repeat those for me. All right, so welcome back. I've only got 30 more minutes, and between questions that are coming to me, my cell phone, to Oscar, to my person, and things I know I haven't taught you yet, I want to make sure you have all the answers that you need before you go. So we're going to roll back in. So welcome back, everybody. I'm going to take the break off because we are no longer breaking. Okay, Oscar, ask your first question.
So we have a question from Ashley Brockman. Deb, please remind me, how do I share multiple selected resources together but not the whole page for a particular book?
Multiple selected resources together but not the whole page for a book. I think the answer is you can't quite do that. So you can't, it's not like YouTube and you can make a playlist of just the book trailers. So if you had a book trailer for this and a Meet the Author reading for that and an audio name pronunciation, you would have to share those things out individually if you just want them to have those resources. Otherwise, you would share the book out. Does that answer the question? I hope it does.
I think so. Also, what is your wand attention getter called?
People ask me about, those of you who can't see it, you know, it sounds like this. It's just great. You don't have to yell and be that horrible library person. It's called a musical wand, and they are usually sold out, but you can find them sometimes on Etsy, but they're a great attention getter.
Then I have another question from Cynthia Chisholm. If my district already pops as welcome RUSD, should I create my own educator login?
If you go on and you find that you're being welcomed by a particular district, then you are in the right basket, pretty much. You do want to create an educator login because being in the welcome to RUSD will allow you access to see and use all the resources, but you can't share them, you can't create a list, and you can't build your own customizable lessons until you have your own login. And the reason for that is you have nowhere to save your stuff. You don't want your stuff in everybody else's stuff. So it's like you need a drawer to put your own stuff in, and that's what your educator login does. But that also leads to the next thing I want to teach you is suppose you close this out or tomorrow happens and you go, where's my list? And so you see the little toggle menu over on the left-hand side? So when you click that, you will see your license, your reading list, your lessons, your rubrics, and your newsletters. Now, who doesn't see all of those things? Raise your hand if you don't see all of those when you click on your toggle menu. Everybody click the toggle menu, see what you see. Jennifer, you don't see them all? And the reason you don't see them all is you haven't made them yet. You don't have a reading list yet because you haven't made a list yet. You don't have lessons because you haven't created customized lessons yet. That's why. But once you have done that, you will. Or like someone asked me at the break about text complexity. Once you complete a text complexity, then your rubrics will be there. You want to be sure that you have the newsletters selected yes, so that you know about changes that happen and featured resources. So you want to be sure that you have the Teaching Books Update and Nick's Picks, which let you kind of go behind the scenes. Let's look at your reading list, because not only do you have your custom reading list once you make them, you also have the state list. So California has lots of state lists. They're the California Reader, the Eureka, the California Reads, and so on. So you don't have to be sad anymore that the California Young Reader Committee doesn't make a booklet. You don't have to have the booklet anymore. You have it right here. And so that's one of the first things that as soon as the nominees are announced, the content team at Teaching Books jumps on and they make this list for you and start gathering even more resources. And so if you're doing picture books for older readers, you just click on it, and now you have the 3 nominees, and there are already 58 resources, including 2 videos, 2 book readings, and 13 lesson plans. So it's already done for you. So you just have to get the book, because these are, Teaching Books is about the resources that you have with the books you're already using or that you want to use. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So that's one of the lists that are in under your toggle menu, under your reading list. Now here's a bonus. Many of you have a core list, or you're doing a reading program, or there's certain books that all the 6th graders read, or all the 7th graders read, or whatever. We can make you an account list for your district. So if Vista Unified has a list of books that everybody in the middle schools are going to use, we can upload that to you, to your account, and so nobody else has to do it. It would just be there for you. So that's an opportunity for you to try. So you can have your district or school list, you can have your California list, and then you have your customized reading list, the ones that you make yourself. Lessons. We were talking about lessons before the break. And so once you make up a lesson, like the one I just made, it shows up in your list of lessons. So these are lessons that I made for the picture book for California Young Reader Medal. So as I was reading the books, I did a text complexity and I made one of these up. Now here's a nonfiction book. I Am Malala. So for nonfiction, there is a different kind of customizable lesson. They're called Nonfiction Read and Response, and they too have multiple levels of difficulty, but they also would be places where kids can write about what's this about, what are some ideas, what are the things I learned, and then you can come up with 2 boxes of questions. And they do the same thing, the story maps. You can download them, you can print them, you can share them. Once you make one, you can copy it and go again. Maybe you want to differentiate in your instruction and you want one group to answer these questions and you want another group to answer some more questions. And so you can differentiate the instruction that way too. So that's your 2 kinds of customizable lessons. Your rubrics. So you have probably seen, as we've looked at different books, text complexity. So what we've done is we're crowdsourcing the text complexity using the national standards for that. And so as I read, and you can do the same thing, or you can do it with your classes, you can see what the rubric looks like. So here's one that I did for Other Words for Home. And you can also talk about cultural representation within the text, but this is where it starts from. So here is the form, and then you just evaluate, and it tells you how to decide what it is. And the source of this comes from, we have a page not found. So here's the rubric and the worksheet. So it comes from this. So this might be something that you do with your classes, and you can talk to them about Lexile. You can it gives you all the Fountas and Pinnell, and so you can discuss your books a little bit with a different kind of lens. Question.
You created that rubric, or it's there?
That rubric, that was where it comes from. That's your discussion list. But then to get your own, then you just answer the questions. And once you've answered the questions, then they'll show up under your rubric. So this is the one I did for We're Not From Here. And it looks like somebody else has also done this rubric. So mine is just a little bit less than theirs. Or it could be I did it more than once, because you can't tell. But the cool thing about that is not only are you able to do that, you also get a certificate. So if you're looking for yeah, I'm doing PD, just here's my form. So you have this right here, too. Now, somebody asked me at the break about advanced search. So there is an advanced search. And so if I do browse and I browse by books, then I'll see this advanced search. And when I click on the advanced search, it lets you do a lot of things much more specifically. So maybe I'm doing novels in verse, but I want them at a particular interest level. I want them for 4th to 8th grade, but I want them on a particular Lexile. So I can come down here and choose my Lexile. I want them on a lower Lexile, say 500. Right now I can only choose one Lexile at a time. So then I do that, and then I say search, and, well, that can't be right. So it says I don't have any. That feels wrong to me. Maybe the Lexile is too low. So let's bump it up a notch and go again. I didn't get any. So if I do this a couple of times and I think, oh, that can't be right. So that's when I might send a note to Teaching Books to say, is that working? Are you tinkering with my advanced search? Because that happens sometimes. One day last week, the scan by iSpan didn't work. And it turned out there was a bug, and they squished it, and it's gone. And so it should work now. But that is theoretically where you would go. And you could search by whatever your search term is, or just don't. You don't search by any. You just say, you should, and this is a way we can test this. Show me all the books that are this Lexile. I don't care what grade they are or whatever, and just search. And so now I've got 14,000 book results with a Lexile of 500 to 700. And then I can narrow it down. Does that help? You're welcome. Now, here's another thing. I got a text during the break about student use of teaching books. Would students use this? Absolutely. I have had to throw kids out of the library because they're just listening to the audio name pronunciations. You know, you can't just be in here all day listening to people say how to say their name, which is great, you know. How do you get to that?
No, how do they have access?
Everybody has access. If you can get to teaching books, you can see it. So Teaching Books just doesn't have a login, an educator login for kids. But if they're going through the right portal, they can listen to the Meet the Author readings, they can listen to the pronunciations, they can use it for book selection, reader's advisory, the whole 9 yards. The only reason they need, they don't have an educator login because they're not going to make customized lessons, they're not going to share book lists, etc. But they will absolutely... The teacher will share that with them, so they don't need access. But a kid might come in here and say, I love Because of Winn-Dixie. And do you have a movie about her? And so, yeah, they're going to watch that movie. And so because they're going in the portal that you've set up or where they know to go, whether it's a shortcut or whatever, then they can go in here and they can listen to the movie, or they can listen to the audio excerpt, or they can listen to the name pronunciations. And if you want to hear the rest of them, boom, there they are. So you can choose people. Like, you think you know how to say this guy, and some of you have heard me say this, so there won't be the wow factor, probably, but this guy who writes the Percy books, some of you know now, right?
Hi, my name is Rick Riordan. Long I, like in rye bread.
Oh, but look, some of you forgot already, right?
Hi,
Long
my name
I.
is Rick Riordan. Long I, like in rye bread.
Long I like in rye bread. So you might not know that you don't know. For example, Miss Maya. Is it Angelou or Angelo? And now you're going, oh, now I have no idea. So if I go down to, right there, play a little bit of hers.
Hello, my name is Maya Angelou. It's a very beautiful name, I know.
So it rhymes with no, Maya Angelou. And who knew you didn't know? Right? So kids will use that because they want to know, how do I say this author's name? And one of the things I love about that is so many of our kids have a name that people just massacre. And so it's such a comforting thing to watch their face, see that an author who's famous, who's published, people also murder their names too. And they go, hey, it's not just me. Because so many times they do feel it's not just me. Or they got stuck with a nickname that they don't like. And the same thing happens with so many authors and illustrators. And so they will often do that as well. Or if they're under browse, they might go in there and look under collections because they want to watch all the book trailers. So you can go in and say, show me the book trailers. And so I can narrow it down to my grade level. I'm a high school student, and I want to see the book trailer for all of these guys. But maybe I want to know what's new, so I'm going to sort it by year. So these are all the hot new books. Boom, and here's the book trailer.
We have a question.
Question.
Could you show us how to get those book trailers into a list and onto YouTube?
The question is, how do I get those book trailers onto a list and get them onto YouTube? So what I would do is I would go to the book trailer. You can't make a playlist within teaching books, but what I did, because I've done the same thing, is you play the trailer. So this is a tough one to do, so I'm not going to do that one. Forgot about her, because that's her memoir about her rape. But say I do Flora and Ulysses, and I get the book trailer. The cool thing is these are all good book trailers. They're good examples. There's some discussion going on the CSLA listserv about what's a good book trailer. So these are all approved. They're from the publisher, they're from the author, they're from the illustrator, they're from a reputable source. And so if it's on YouTube, then what I do is I just click on the YouTube, and then I make a playlist. And so then I can just roll that playlist on my television at my library, and it just goes, I just say, put it in a loop, and it'll just play book trailer after book trailer after book trailer. But you can't make a list of just book trailers. So where did I find all the book trailers? So I go to Browse, and I go to Collections, and on the resource type, I just look up video book trailers, and they're right there. Or if I want all the Meet the Author recordings, I want to know about why they wrote all these books. So I can sort it by any number of things, by the year it was published, by the ATOS or Lexile level. And so here are all the newest ones. And then I can share them right from this page. Or I can listen to it. All those things are just right there. So those are the ways that a student might use it. Now, here's another cool thing I discovered this weekend. And I didn't even have to prompt them to clap. Because I was talking to a district librarian, and she wanted to encourage her kids to read outside of their comfort zone. She said, we have kids at this particular school who are mostly reading humorous books or graphic novels, and we would like them to go out of their comfort zone. She said, so I was thinking maybe if I have a contest and I give them a bookmarker and it has all the different genres, and as they read a different genre, they get a punch. And I said that could work in one of two ways. It could be awesome, or you could teach them to hate reading. Because you have to have the books to support pushing them into a different genre. If you know that they love to read, but they love to read out of these two boxes, then you have to make sure that if you send them to the next store, that they have something that hooks them into that. So say, for example, you want them to read historical fiction. That's a big jump sometimes from humorous books or graphic novels to historical fiction, but look what you can do. We have a new thing called the wild card. So I can type the word humor and use my wild card, which is an asterisk. And so now it will look through things that are humor, humorous, etc. And now I have 7,806 books that fall into that category. And now I can say, show me the ones for 1st through 5th grade, for example. And then I can say, look at my genre. There are 100 historical fiction that my kids who like humor might like. So now I'm down to 35 titles for my elementary readers that are historical fiction, but they also have humor. Or if I want to get them into biography, I've got 12 biographies that are funny. And those are the books that I want to make sure the kids have access to. So that's how it can turn from there into collection development. Do you have these books? And so then you have the tools that you need to sell them. Because then you can click on Frenemies in the Family, and you can read a piece of the book, or you can listen to an audio excerpt, or you can tell them that she just lives up the street. She's one of us. You might find her at the grocery store. And so that's another thing that kids might use, the wild card. Or you, say you're teaching and you start to spell chrysanthemum. You cannot do it. It is the typing thing, but I can use that wild card for that, and now I get chrysanthemum and I don't have to type the whole word. Or you can't remember if it's runs, running, whatever. So you can use that wild card there as well. You can't remember if it's women or woman. You can put the asterisk in where the vowel is, and you can find stuff. So if I did a search on just humor, I might get one list. If I search humorous, I might get another list. Or I can do that wild card and get all kinds of things. All right. Couple more things in Instruct. We've looked at the literacy connections and the standards connections, but we know you're busy. So the implementation and training team is a group of now 5 of us that are teachers and librarians, and we are making these resources to help you so you don't have to do them. So if you need mini lessons, it's called micro-learning now. That's because kids can only concentrate for 5 or 10 minutes. And so these are 5 or 10 minutes that you might use to give them ideas about writing prompts. So there's a listen and respond for younger students and for older students, an exit slip for younger. And it's just to give you an example. So for example, Drum Girl Dream and Otto's Violin. So they would just go on their device, they scan this QR code, it takes them directly to the device, they listen to these true stories of people who made change, and then they write about the reason the change came about. And these are done, you can print them out, and they're ready to go. Or social justice for grades 7 to 12. So here are activities where, so this is also giving you examples of how you would use these things. You might say, oh, these are great resources, but when do I use them? How do I use them? You can print these out, put them in a center, put them on your bulletin board, put them down by the lunch line. So while kids are standing there with the phone they're not supposed to have, whoop, they can beep it, and da-da, or you put them in the stalls in the bathrooms because you know they're looking then. And then they go, oh, this is so cool. Of course, they'll be busted because it's audio. And then there's some shelf talkers, which we just made over the summer. So we have a picture of the author and the illustrator. You can scan the code and you can hear directly from the author. So you can cut these out, print them out, and those are there for you to use. We are developing more of those all the time, those ready-to-use activities, which are also under Instruct. The special collections, like the Reader's Theater scripts, the complete books and poems. Now, I said there aren't whole books on there, but there are some complete readings of books or poems. So you can go in there and you could maybe see a Weston Woods video or something from Storyline online. But that's how you would find out. And they're also under the special collection piece. We do have things in multiple languages. Some of the movies were made in French. They were made in Spanish. There are book guides that are in Spanish. There are book guides that are in French, and et cetera. And there are a few in some other world languages that are also part of the Instruct piece. And then one of the ways you can get people to use it is put things on your own resources. So, for example, there is a literary calendar. And the literary calendar gives you what's happening every day. And so it might be a way for you to help decide, what am I going to teach this week? Because this week is Banned Book Week. So there'll be something about Banned Book Week. Or today is actually National Voter Registration Day. And so it takes you directly to a source about voter registration. And then every day we do a teaching books day, an elementary and a secondary book. And these can be, the embed code is there. You just copy it and you can put it wherever you want to put it. There are additional buttons for embedding. Like if you want to put the new logo, because we have a new lovely logo on your teaching page, on your Destiny or on your desktops or wherever, you can copy that embed code and it'll put that button. So if you have that Destiny homepage that has all those wordy links and you want something more modern looking, you can put that in there. There is a Symbaloo, so if you use Symbaloo, you can put it, use that as well. It also integrates with the stuff you're already using. So here's another, but wait, there's more. It integrates with Destiny. It integrates with Mac and Via, with Tidal Wave, with ClassLink, with Clever, with Schoology. And we're adding more all the time. And so that's why we want that form to be set up, so that there is single sign-on and they can just use it in Schoology and Clever, because it's all about location, location, location. If they don't know where it is, no matter how wonderful it is, if it's hard to get to, they won't use it. So you want to make it easier for them. And so one way you can do that is to go to the help page. And on the help page, at the very top, you'll see lots of things to help you get the word out. So there's training, not just here, but we have training, scheduled webinars almost every week. There's a webinar. And so you can sign up for the Essential Elements, which teaches you a little bit more in detail about the things we've talked about today, or the webinar Spotlight, where we dig more into a topic, like we recently did diversity. As part of the State Digital Project, however, you get training included. So if you want me to come to your district, that could be possible. I can also do a webinar if we can't make a face-to-face happen. So whether you're in this room today or you are listening online today or later, just contact me at deb@teachingbooks.net and we'll see what we can do to make it personal for your district, because we want you to be able to use this. And then there's some other helps that help you, like share and promote. Like, for example, promoting access. You can email access directions. So you want to go back and make sure your families and your colleagues and everybody knows, then you just click this and you fill it out. It'll send you an email and you can send that to whoever you want to. And they'll have the directions for how to get there. Sharing resources, again, are there. If you're a district person, under your toggle menu, it says your license. Well, it'll say that for everybody. But if you're an administrator, now it will also say, what's my usage? So if you want to know if people are using, I'll just tell you this, you can't hide. You can't act like you know what teaching books is, because I can find out that you don't. And so can your boss. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing and sharing these tools. You can add teachers. We can upload your whole district. We just need you just need to talk to Ray. Ray will help you with that. The customized reading lists, scheduling webinars, all of that stuff is there. Your access directions are there, whether it's a bookmark or a flyer or so on. Widgets and the buttons, they're also there, and how you connect to all those other resources. So everything you need is all right there at Teaching Books. So I hope you'll take those resources and you will just run with them, and that you can then be the one who says, you get an author, and you get an author, and you get an author, because the state has funded these resources for you. And they're just such a super way to bring those authors who can't get to your classroom or your library, to bring them and make that connection to literacy for you and save you so much time.
Do we have final questions for Deb? No?
We have a few minutes that are still my time, but comments, questions? Jennifer?
I'm still unsure about student login. So
Students don't have to log in.
But how do they
That's the bottom
access
line.
without you sharing? Is there a way that they can just get on and look at auto?
They can go to teachingbooks.net /California, and they would just go to student. And they just click continue to student access. You're welcome. Sorry, that was a really simple answer.
Is there a way to search by content? So, for example, to determine if a book is young adult or not?
Kind of. That would be an advanced search where you're looking for 7 to 12 books. So you would want to pay attention to 4 to 8 or 7 to 12, but it's not like Junior Library Guild or Common Sense Media where it's going to say, this has sex. Sometimes there will be an annotation at the top, and it might give you a hint. But those, of course, are two of the places where you can always go. You can just go to, if it's a Junior Library Guild selection, you can go and look it up, because they will tell you potentially sensitive issues. And if sometimes commonsensemedia.org will also have that. But if it's 7 to 12, it likely is a young adult book. If it's 4 to 8, it is more likely what publishers would say is 5 to 8. But there's a big difference between a 5th grade book and an 8th grade book, and that's why they need librarians in this state who will help you get the right book into the right hands of the right child. Question? Oh, okay, he's got the box.
So in sharing with our teachers, we would just share them the website?
Yes.
And they can sign in through educators?
Right.
Okay.
I would take them right to, just like I did today. I would start with teachingbooks.net /California, and I would do something that makes them go, like that. And then that really is all you have to do. You take one book that everybody knows everybody's going to use, and you show them the Meet the Author reading and the pronunciation and the lesson plans and all that stuff, that they will want to know, how do I get in?
So this is a technical access question, though, because how do you know who's an educator and who's just, random person off the street? And we utilize domain names based off of your school district. Now, we've uploaded as much as we can. I should say Ray has uploaded as much as he could with the information that we have, but things change all the time, which is why the technical access form that I will show you a little bit later, that would go to your IT department or somebody else at the district or front office at the charter school would need to know. And a question over here.
Yes, finding books for boys is always a bit of a challenge, especially lately, since publishers tend to be writing a lot of books mostly with female protagonists. And I see in the cultural area have books for women, girls, and feminist issues, but is there a
Well, if Shannon Hale were here, she would smack me in the face if I said, I didn't say it this way, that books for boys are any book that they like. So I have to say that first, for Shannon Hale, I can feel her in my back. But if you're talking specifically about finding books that have boy main characters, that's a little harder to search. But you can do in subject areas under, so I did a little search for boys, and I have a subject as boys, I have African American boys, see all subject results. Now I can look and I can see that I've got teenage boys, I've got comic strips, etc. And if you ever see it where it says 3+ something, it means that there are at least 3. And that's where that wild card thing kind of comes in. But yeah, that you can also look for boys under lists, and you might find some books that are great for boys. Which can be read by girls. Let's just set the record straight. Good question. Anybody else? I'll be here all day, so if you have questions for me, feel free to ask me. Email me at deb@teachingbooks.net. I do have these access cards, and they have my contact information, my email, my phone number. So that's my cell phone. You can text me, call me, email me, tap me on the back. I'll help you however I can. And these, I brought a bunch of these. They come in packs of 25. So you're welcome to take a pack of 25 if you'll use that many. If not, we can break them up. And they'll be here all day. So I don't want to take Jennifer's setup time to do that, but make sure before you leave that you get a pack if you'd like to have some. It's a great way to do a little 5-minute thing and say you have an author and you have an author and you have an author.